I used to tell people that my eyes were green, even though they were deep, deep brown, almost black. And I didn't lie because I hated myself or wanted to be different or didn't like brown eyes or anything like that because I was a kid. I didn't know better. Everyone in my family had brown, black eyes. So it was really just a feeling that those were not my real eyes, and I was so sure of it, and I was so sure that my real eyes were green, that if someone was asking me, I was saying green, like without even thinking about it. And over the years, my eyes color actually changed from brown, deep, deep brown, to a greenish color that you see now. So I want to talk about that today because I think it's really an interesting physical change. But I have to say from the beginning that this is not a you can manifest anything you want kind of video. Because we hear a lot of stories like this, but I think the most important and the most interesting is to actually understand what's behind it, what really happened. And it took me a very long time to understand it myself. Not just in a spiritual way of, oh yeah, I wanted to have green eyes and they became green, but like what really happened biologically speaking, scientifically speaking. How is it possible? And what is the extent of the physical change that is really possible in this life? So I don't know everything, but I have good answers after thinking about it for my entire life. I have good answers, I think, about it and very interesting point of view about it. I'm gonna talk about it in this video. Before I'm starting, I have to acknowledge the fact that I was not here for more than a month on this channel. And to be honest, I've been very, very sick this past few weeks, and I'm just starting to feel better. Uh, and I've been missing working, but it was really not possible physically for me. So yeah, maybe no one cares or no one noticed, but if you did care and notice, this just what happened, to be honest. I'm still not quite fully myself. My hair are dirty. I don't have energy to take a shower today. So this is me trying to show up anyway, but I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel and to feel confident that in the next few weeks I feel better. So nothing to be worried about. It's even, I think, a very good identity change for me, but I'll maybe talk about it in another video or maybe in another vlog video. Yeah, I just want to let you know that yeah, I needed that month, my body and mind and identities needed that month, but I'm ready to come back again and I have a lot to talk about. Okay, enough. Let's start now. So the experience that I'm talking about with my eye color change happened really in my childhood. Okay, I was really young, and as long as I can remember, I knew that the eyes that I was having were not my eyes. And it was not just about my eyes, but in my general physical appearance, I knew was not my final and truest physical appearance in a way. But it was really a focus on my eyes, to be honest. And so there was no manifestation in that moment. I had no idea. It was not even, the word was not even used. Um, there was no like sense of spirituality in my family or anything like that. It was really just a quiet knowing inside of me that those are not really my eyes. I know it. I've seen my eyes. Like I've seen them, maybe in a dream, maybe in my head, maybe I don't know. But it was a quiet knowing in my heart that I know what my eyes and my face in general actually look like. But there was no obsession. There was no, oh, I ate my brown eyes. There was no um, anger toward my family, why I'm born like this. There was nothing like that. It was very quiet, very simple, very soft, knowing that I know what my eyes looks like. So I was not making any effort to think differently, to have positive thinking or anything like that. And another thing that you need to know is that the shift happened in a very, very slow way. It was not like, oh, at 4 years old, I was thinking my eyes are actually green, and at 5 years old, they became green. Okay. It happened through years and years and years. I started thinking around 4, 5, 6 years old that I know what my eyes looks like. They are actually green. And they started to shift from deep brown to light brown, maybe around my teenage years, I would say. I don't really recall exactly because for me they were always like this in my mind. So I don't have a notion even of time in my head, but it happened very slowly. And from light brown to green happened even slower, maybe at the beginning of my or end of my teenagehood, beginning of my adult life. But the fact that it was very slow and gradual also made it very normal for everyone around me and myself. For myself, it was always normal because for me, it was my eyes. So I was just like, oh, they are aligning to what they really are. So it's just normal. But even for people around me, they knew me when I was a kid with black eyes, and then they became deep brown, and then they became light brown, and then they became greenish, and then they became greener. So for them, it also was like such a natural change that they even forgot. I talked about my dad about this, and I was like, "Did you realize that my eyes changed color?" And he was like, "I'm not sure because I felt you always had this kind of eyes." And yeah, he was like, "Actually, yeah, now that I look at you, they are really green." And I was like, yeah, they are. And he was like, yeah, it was so gradual and so natural that no one actually noticed in a way that was like, oh, what's happening? We need to see a doctor. Like, I guess if the color of your child are changing from like 5, 6, 7 to in 1 year or two, you are like getting, I don't know, maybe questioned that, oh, does my child have a problem with his eyes or something's happening? But it was very gradual and slow, very, very slow. So no one really noticed, no one really questioned it, and I didn't either. And I remember the exact moment where I was like, actually, this was kind of weird what happened. So I studied Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the Indian medicine. And one time in class with my teacher, she was like, okay, in Ayurveda, we are using the body parts that doesn't change throughout a person's life because we know that we can use that as information to who the person really is. So if you look at the weight of the person, the weight can vary from everything to nothing. It can really differ, and depending what the person has been throughout her life, it can also change her weight, it can change appearance of her, I don't know, skin or whatever. But some parts of you are supposed to not change throughout your life, and we are using them in Ayurveda to make a analysis of the person's face, metabolism, what she needs to eat, blah blah blah. And the teacher was like, okay, we take the eyes and notably the color of the eyes, because generally after a few months, when a baby is a few months old, of course, it's changing, it's aligning, adapting to various change. But after a while, from 2, 3 years old, the eyes of the kid is not changing anymore until adulthood and etc. Unless there is a disease or loss of vision or something like this. And so she was like, yeah, so we use the bone, the size of the bones, like the color of the eyes, the size of the teeth, or whatever. And I was like, but my eyes actually changed color. What does it mean about me? And I started thinking from that moment, like, I want to understand what actually happened. Because this is obviously not supposed to happen. This doesn't actually happen. People don't change their eye color. And in that moment, I was spiritual enough to understand that, yeah, I remember when I was a kid, it was normal for me to think my eyes were already green, and probably just my body aligned with that thought. But spiritual level was not enough for me in that moment. I really wanted to understand what actually happened, because if I understand, I can reproduce it, and I can help other people reproduce it. So I cannot just think like the spiritual level that, oh, I just knew and that's it. I want to understand what happened. And so when I looked into it, what I learned that no one tells you is that there is something that happens with the cells, that we always say that some things are fixed, but the thing is just that your cells are fixed in their identity. Like the cells of my eyes, for my entire life, they will know that they are cells of my eyes. The cells that produce the melanin will know my entire life that she's the cells that produce the melanins and her role is to produce melanin. But their behavior and expression are not fixed at all. And this changes everything. Okay, now I need to make just a small break. I'm just sharing what I found. I'm not a specialist into microbiology or epigenetics or anything like that. I'm just sharing what I found and what I think is incredible and what really explained what happened for me in my eye change eye color change. That's like this eye color change. Uh, but I'm nowhere near to be a specialist of that topic. But I have to specify that I am a chemist engineer initially, and I studied 6 years chemistry and physics, so I'm able to just reflect outside of spirituality. I just want to say that I'm able to like analyze and think by myself outside of just like thinking that you will just think it and manifest it. Okay, so but I'm not nowhere near a specialist of epigenetic. But what I did understand is that your cells respond to certain signals that can be environment, food, diet, whatever. They respond to certain signals, and through those response they can change from the same DNA. So I'm the same person with the same DNA, but I can change and turn up and down, if you want, certain function in my body and my specificities, just through the signal that is sent to my cells. Okay, this is the full study of epigenetic is about that. So signals can be various, and it doesn't have to be positive signals. Stress is also a signal that can impact you and change you. Like I said, nutrition, environment, sleep, hormones, nervous system, whatever. A lot of signals can happen. Thoughts and emotions are also signals, but they don't impact your cells directly. They impact it indirectly. So it's not as easy as just think it and it will change. Actually, that's why I really like physical change amongst everything in the life change that you can like embody, because you really need to understand what's happening. You cannot just think, oh, I want my eyes to be green, I want my eyes to be green, I want my eyes to be green, and suddenly they will become green. It doesn't work like that. But thoughts and emotion do change your, let's say, physiological state, which can impact indirectly the response of your cells. So how it can work, for example, to be more precise and for you to understand, your identity can create some thoughts. If I believe that I'm a runner, I will start thinking that I need to buy new shoes, running shoes. Okay, this is a thought related to my identity. It's a very bad example, but nothing came to mind right now. But you understand it, Your identity is what you believe about yourself, what you believe to be, will create some type of thoughts in your brain. If you believe that you are bad at this, you will have the thought that, oh, I cannot do this, Of course. Then those thoughts can impact your emotional state. That emotional state can include some stress, some happiness, whatever, and it can impact your body. And then your body can impact expressions of cells, your presence, how you walk, how you move, etc. So once again, it's not you can think your way into anything, but you do are able to gradually influence how your body expresses itself. But your body doesn't really listen to what you say or think, it listens to the state that you are in. So, to come back to what I was saying, your cells are fixed in identity. The cells of my eyes, when I was born with deep brown eyes, knew that they were the cells of an eye, but they were not fixed into the color that they were producing, their behavior, their expression. It's just that they started producing that amount of melanin, that type of blah blah blah, and they continued. Because if you don't question it and if it's becoming normal to you, because everyone refers to you as this girl with red hair and with brown eyes and with this and that, you become that person and you don't question it normally. There is a lot of things about me that I didn't question. I didn't question my size. I didn't question, my teeth or anything. And they stayed like this. Maybe they could have changed. But for some reason, I did question my eye color and I did feel that this was not mine. And I lived in that state. So my cells didn't change. They are still the same cells that I had when I had deep brown colored eyes, but just their expression and their behavior started to slowly shift. And now we also need to understand the eye color, because when I say that my eyes change from deep brown to green, we don't really understand it because we don't know what is actually responsible for the color of the eye. So we feel like, oh, you don't totally changed your eyes, but I don't have to change my eyes, because what is responsible for your eye color is the quantity of melanin that your cells are producing, how this melanin is distributed throughout your eyes, and how the light behave inside of your eye. So for example, when I had deep brown eyes color, it's the cells that produce a lot of melanin and the light gets absorbed. With green eyes, it's more like the light gets scattered and there is less melanin produced. Just like with the skin. If you have a lot of melanin, you will appear more black, and if you have less, you will appear more white. So we really understand that it's not that my eyes actually changed, it's that the cells started to behave differently. Now, on top of that, really physical, scientific, biological eye color, you also need to factor in and consider that you have the perception of the eye color, which can be different. That's why you can notice that maybe in that light or that weather or this type of environment, your eyes can slightly change also. And for example, the general expression of your face, which is very funny because I told you when I was little, I thought that the expression of my face was also not quite the truest of myself, but I was focused on the eyes. And the thing is that the expression of your face also changed the perception of the color of your eyes. So it's not really that it's changing color, it's just that the perception of the color will be different. If you have a lot of facial tension, which I had due to a lot of circumstances, let's not enter them, but I had a lot of facial tension. Still have. I think we all gather a lot in our faces every day, even when we massage them. But when you have a lot of facial tension, you will appear to have smaller eyes and darker color. So when you do the face massage from my YouTube channel, you actually change already the color and appearance of your eyes. So anyway, it's important to notice that it's not really a different color per se, but it's really a different behavior. Because this passes this from this magical spiritual change of eyes to something that we can actually understand, very simple, just behavior of my cells starting to be different, but my eyes are still the same that when I was born. And I know in modern spirituality, new age, manifestation, we want you to believe that anything is possible, there is no limit. But I think even if in the beginning this type of um, things can make you feel so good because you are a god and your thoughts control your reality and you can do anything and you are the creator of your life, but you will see that in a very, very short time, thinking like this, it will ruin your life because we don't control everything. And you'll reach a stage where you feel so frustrated that you cannot control everything because you feel like I should be able to control everything with my thoughts. This is what they tell me in spirituality, right? So why I can't? What's wrong with me? So I think it's very important to tell you what's possible, to open your mind and your possibilities, but to also be honest that for me, at least at this level of my understanding, we do have limits. Of course, there is definitely a part of me that is infinite. Maybe my mind, I don't know how it's called, maybe my soul. There is definitely something in me that is infinite. But that thing is also for now inside a body, stuck in physical matter. I could not create purple eyes even if I wanted to. They are boundaries, and it's not a bad word to say it. Boundaries can actually help creativity. And boundaries doesn't mean that it's as fixed as we want you to believe it is. So as a child, I didn't think in terms of biology or even spirituality. I didn't think about the possibilities or to open my mind to think differently. And this is why, to be honest, as adults, it might be a bit more difficult for us to actually activate a different type of behavior from ourselves and to really believe that we can change something. We don't have the same ecosystem as a child who can just dream and doesn't question. And that's all the purpose of my job as an identity personal development coach, however you want to call it, to really find that stage where you can allow yourself to change, even though you know the facts, you know the physics, you know the reasons, you know this and that. How you find that space to allow yourself to change. And personally, as a coach, I'm not here to tell you that you can do anything and to create magical features change and your hair can turn blue and your eyes can be purple and we can do anything as long as you want it hard enough, as long as you think positive enough. This is really not my lane. This is not how it works. This is not what will make you feel good. And this is not what I'm called to do. I'm here to help you feel aligned, to help you feel coherent, body, mind, to guide you, yes, a bit outside your own limitations. I'm sure you have those, like we all do. But especially, I'm here to help you recognize something deeper inside of you. Because that thing deeper, that was the spark of me changing the color of my eyes, that was the spark of you starting on your journey for whatever you want right now. I really do believe that that spark is the spark of God, or however you want to call it. And I don't have all the answers, and I cannot be there forever, and I cannot be there for everyone. But I know that if I can guide a few of you to recognize and reconnect with that divine spark inside of you, then you won't need me anymore. And you will be always guided, and you will have your answers. This is why I shared this story with you today. I want you to recognize that more is possible than we believe, that things are not fixed as we believe. It doesn't mean there is no boundary, it doesn't mean there is no limit, it doesn't mean you should believe you are the king of the world and you can do anything you want and you control everything. The only thing you need to believe is that you have also that divine spark inside of you. You can do incredible things that you have no idea you can do right now. And the more I think about it and study it and coach about it, the more I realize it all starts with identity. Babe, you got this. See you in the next one.